Alright, so this is a bit of a spontaneous project. I have a bunch of leather sheaths that I need to get ready, and I don't have a stitching horse. If you don't know, a stitching horse is basically like a clamp, typically made of wood, and it's designed to hold your leather work while you're hand stitching it, and it's also designed to not damage the leather. So I just decided, you know what, it's time I build one of these quick. Kind of getting sick and tired of trying to make the bench vise work. And so I started out with a block of maple. This is about 2-inch thick solid maple. I've got a bunch of these blocks that somebody had given me, and I find them quite handy for all different types of shop projects. I'm just going to cut down what's going to be the width, and then here I'm just kind of drawing out lines, and basically what I'm going to do is take this over to my milling machine and mill out a cavity that will create a little clearance on the inside, and then that radius part that I'm drawing there, that's going to be the jaws that kind of clamp the leather work in place. So basically your leather kind of slides into this. And I was originally going to do the sides 3/8 of an inch thick, but I just thought with all that flexing, I could make them a 1/2 inch, and I'd still have 1 inch of clearance inside. So basically those two sides are going to need to be able to flex, and that's what's going to move while I tighten up the little screw to clamp the leather. Just going to throw it in the milling machine. I put a piece of key stock underneath there just to create some clearance for when I come all the way through. I'm just going to start milling out a big huge slot. And I'll just clean everything up with a fordham and get all those little edges and any little details cleaned up nicely. And then we'll just kind of sand the insides of it all down. Also, keep in mind I've got a giveaway coming up when we reach 100,000 subscribers, and you can win that fordham. Not the one that I'm using, obviously, it's a brand new one just for you, but super awesome tools. Okay, so now I've got the insides all cleaned up. We're just going to kind of cut an outside radius, and this will be the top of the stitching pony. Basically just kind of trying to create a little clearance for your fingers and the sewing and stuff like that. And then after we cut that out, we'll take it to the belt grinder and just kind of grind a nice little radius on there. And now I'm going to cut out the opening at the top, and I could adjust this later, I could make it bigger, but for now I just went with a 1/4 inch. I think that should hold most of the leather work that I plan on doing, and you don't want to go too big because then you're going to have to flex the sides too much and it might put too much undue stress, but I just marked out a couple of lines, and again I had some datum lines left there as a reference that I could measure from. It's kind of important when you're doing something like this, so I had my center line already marked out, and I could just measure 1/8 of an inch on either side of that. So I've got that done. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with a file. And that's basically the clamping jaws there, the mouth of the clamp. A lot of guys will use leather. They'll glue leather to this. I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it wood. Right there you kind of saw a little sneak peek of how it's going to work. You can always buy these stitching ponies, stitching horses, but the one that I looked at that I liked was like 145 bucks. So I thought, you know what, I may as well just build one real quick. By the time I drive to the city, I'd already have this made, and then the materials obviously are what I have laying around. Now to actually clamp the clamp down, what I'm using is a quick release from a bicycle axle. I've got a lot of bike parts laying around, and it's amazing how handy a lot of those little tiny mechanical devices that are found on bicycles can be when you're doing different shop projects. So I try to use a lot of these because a lot of these little devices are ready made and you just have to modify them slightly, and super handy. So all I'm doing here is I'm running a 5mm die. I need to extend the part that's threaded, and I'll just cut off the excess that I don't need. So we've got that threaded the way we need it to. And I'm just kind of positioning where I want the holes to be. I'm going to put 4 holes in so I can adjust the clamping pressure, as well as, kind of size it for different sized leather work that I might be doing. And then I'll put that little piece at the top there just to keep it nice and parallel when I drill through both sides. Give those a quick countersink. I'll clean up the inside a little bit with a file. And we'll figure out roughly how much of that thread we need sticking out. We'll mark it and we'll cut it off. Clean up those threads quick on the horizontal belt grinder. And now a lot of these stitching horses have a portion underneath that goes off. Sometimes they go off on either side, sometimes just one side. And the idea that I wanted to do with this one was have something that I could stick underneath my leg while I'm sitting down. That way I don't have to be standing while I'm stitching these up. I could do it on the couch while I'm watching TV. Just gives you a couple of different options. And I could also just clamp it to my workbench if I need to. Originally I was just going to make it so that it clamped in my vise, my bench vise. But I thought, you know what, I may as well put a bottom on it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just machining this down to 1 inch thick. Or I think I want about 3/4 inch thick on the bottom. And then that little stanchion that's proud, not the part I'm cutting off, the other part that's still left there, that is going to be where I'm going to bolt the rest of this clamp to, the actual clamp mechanism. So I'm just getting rid of all that material in there. I'm going to make a little centering slot that I can just use to locate the stitching pony. And I'll actually bolt the two pieces together. That way, if I need to modify it in the future, I can. That's a pretty good fit there. I'll mark a center hole. I'm going to use a 3/8 bolt. I'll kind of get this clamped up, squared up, and then drill it in the drill press. That way I can get a nice straight hole. And then I'll set it on the base and drop a transfer punch in there. That way I can get an accurate mark that I need to drill the base to. So we're going to drill at the base, so there's clearance for a 3/8 bolt, and then also I'm going to counter bore from the bottom so that I can put the nut on the bottom side and have clearance for it, and there'll be nothing sticking out on the bottom. The bottom will be nice and smooth and flush. So I just use a 13/16 drill bit there to give it a counter bore so I have clearance for the nut. And then we're going to sand it all up, take care of the edges, kind of smooth the surfaces all down a little bit on the belt grinder. I'm not getting carried away. I'm not pulling out my hand sanders or anything like that. This isn't furniture. It's just a piece of equipment that's going to get dirty and dusty. And at the same time, I don't want to get slivers or splinters while I'm using it. May as well clean it up a bit, I suppose. And then we're going to put a coat of Danish oil on it just to help protect it. And I'm going to be careful not to get any Danish oil on the inside of the jaws, the part that's going to touch the leather. I'm sure once it dries and hardens it'd be fine, but I don't want to take any chances. Especially because when you're sewing up the leather, typically it hasn't been coated yet. And I don't want anything to affect the finish that I get on the leather. So I'll give it a little assembly here and see what it all looks like. It turned out really well. It works great, and I'm really excited to start using this. I've got quite a few of these little sheaths I need to get out in the next couple days, so it's definitely going to save some time. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. And just a reminder, we've got a giveaway coming up when I hit 100,000 subscribers. I'll be giving away a Fordham. So thank you to Fordham for providing that, and thank you to you for watching this video. Cheers.